think something that was said to me at a very early age is a motto that I've lived my life by, and that is follow the path of least regret.
Welcome,
Welcome.
Jacqui Kaese.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Not only are you one of my mentors in terms of powerful women, you are a bit of an icon in our community now. Now, you have been involved in the movie and film industry for a very long time. What was your first inspiration that started this passion?
Well, here's a funny little story. My mother used to take me to watch the Salvation Army Band every Sunday afternoon, and it was in the park in my hometown of Gloucestershire. Mother tells me the story when I was about 3. I decided that I was fed up of the Salvation Army Band playing church hymns and songs and things like that. The minute my mum let go of my hand, I wandered up to the stage and I climbed up on the stage and then walked across the front of the stage singing.
Just randomly? Wait a second, let me get this clear.
Like, oh no, just totally random. And something like, she walks like an angel walks, and she talks like an angel talks. I went up onto the stage and I sang this, and the band leader stopped the band from playing and hushed the crowd. I guess there was maybe 500, 600 people that gather in the park every week. Walk up and down, kicking my little feet, pretty little feet. She just knocks me up at my feet. This little old lady sitting in her deck chair said, "Who is that child?" And my mother remembers distinctly saying, "I haven't got a clue. I don't know who she belongs to." Yes. I would make a guest appearance every week after that because the band leader said to my mom, "Oh, please bring her back. She's phenomenal." Another story, I decided that then I was going to entertain the pub afterwards, right? So my dad pub, and I did the same thing, walking up and down the wall outside the pub while my dad had his pint of beer on a Sunday evening. So a while, because I won Entertainment Manager of the Year for the UK in 1992, the same year.
All of the UK.
Yeah, for all of the UK. But the entertainment division that I was in was a company called First Leisure Corporation, and I was one of, I think, only 3 female general managers at the time.
Yeah, that would have been hard to get to that point.
Yeah, it was. I didn't realize what a tough cookie I was, though. I really didn't. Again, fearless. Nothing would stand in my way. My father was a Mason and the hierarchy of the gentleman's club in English society, and
how did your father
never understand why I couldn't be a Mason, right? I was a woman.
You couldn't be a Mason.
Why couldn't I be? So we used to fight all the time over Christmas dinner and Sunday dinners and things like that, because I used to say, well, why is it closed to women? Why can't women? So I've always been that trailblazer, for women's rights, for equality, for...
I'm a little bit younger than you, but so I follow behind you and I go, okay, let's keep this train going.
Totally. My great grandmother was one of the 13 women to go with Florence Nightingale to the Crimea War. We have that history. So there was only, I think it was 13 or 16 nurses that went with Florence Nightingale to the Crimea War. So I come by it honestly in terms of generations of trailblazers, right?
Powerful women.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Even when I landed a place with National Youth Theatre, when I first ran away from home and joined the circus, this was not my first professional gig, because I had sang professionally from the age of about 13, 14. Yeah. But when I auditioned for National Youth Theatre, I traveled at 16 years of age. I got on a train and went to Bristol first, then I went to Birmingham, then I did 2 auditions in London, and then I landed a spot for National Youth Theatre. I didn't really have a clue where I was going to live. I didn't know how I was going to feed myself. I didn't know. I just knew that I was going. And I remember my mom basically saying, "You can't do this." And I'm like, "Yes, I can." And I did. I came home with my tail between my legs a few times when the loves of my life didn't work out. So that's not such a glorious story, you know, because I met and married a couple of assholes before I got it right.
But isn't that also the way often with the women who are out there in the risk, they have this light and people who don't have it want it.
Absolutely. I think something that was said to me at a very early age is a motto that I've lived my life by, and that is follow the path of least regret. So when I have decisions before me, I always ask myself that question: which is the right path for me to follow with the least amount of regret, so that I will never regret in my later years that I didn't do something that I had the chance to do. When I mentor young actors and they're at a crossroads, or they don't know what to do, or they're struggling with their personal life and they've got things going on, then I will tell them that will be what I share.
So let's go to the UK. What are some highlights?
The pageantry system in the UK, the organization that I belong to, was a company called Miss Beautiful Eyes.
Okay.
And Miss Beautiful Eyes, everybody that was in that system had to have a campaign. I won Miss Beautiful Eyes for the west of England and went through to the national finals.
Okay.
But my campaign was introducing eye safety in industry. So most of the time, welders, people working in factories and things like that didn't wear eye safety spectacles. I went out as an ambassador into factories and other places where they would use welding equipment, and where eye safety was a concern. And I used to canvass for everybody that worked in a dangerous position to save their eyes, to wear eye safety spectacles.
How old were you at this time?
I was in my early 20s, and my prize for winning was breakfast with Margaret Thatcher, who was Prime Minister of England. So I went to the Houses of Commons, but that was the first time that I met her. There were twice in my career when I actually, once I actually got to meet her and have breakfast with her, and then the second time I was singing with a band in Brighton, which was one of my residencies when I was singing in the UK. And her and Dennis, her husband, requested a quick step for them to dance to for the opening of the Conservative Party conference. And the only quick step the band knew was "Lady is a Tramp."
Oh, I remember you telling me this story.
So my other claim to fame, I won Miss Beautiful Eyes in the west of England and was a canvasser for eye safety. and then I got to sing "Lady is a Tramp" for her 5 years later or something. And I remember my area manager stood up on the balcony in this huge dance hall. That was top rank ballet. They were all big dance halls that 2,000 or 3,000 people would go to. It was very formal, and I was stood on the stage and my area manager was doing this. But then, let me say, just in my musical career, the band that I was working with at the time, we got to back up bands like Robert Palmer, Tears for Fears, Tina Turner, China Crisis. And we were the resident band of this big place at the time. Back in the days of even youth theater, I would, we'd party with the likes of Rod Stewart, all these.
What was he like? What was Rod Stewart like?
Rod Stewart was great. Rod Stewart was lovely. My girlfriend in the UK, she had a couple of dates with Rod at the time.
With Rod Stewart, yeah. That's the life of a
My claim to fame is Noddy Holder, who sings this. So here it is, Merry Christmas, right?
Was it sex, drugs, and rock and roll?
To be honest, all I wanted to do was sing and be on stage. I just didn't engage. It didn't,
Wow.
It just didn't. Yep, I never did the drug thing. I never did the drink thing until, maybe later on when I was managing nightclubs. And we used to get 6 weeks maternity leave back in those days. It's not what it is now. And when my son Josh was born, after 6 weeks, I remember walking back into Shanghai Sam's, which was the club that I was managing in Peterborough in the UK. And I spoke to my, my managing director and said, I'm not coming back. I'm done. I want to look after my baby. I want to be a mom and I want to stay at home. And that was the year that I won the award, funnily enough. You know, I was at home with my baby when they announced it. I was supposed to go.
That award you're talking about was what was it called?
Entertainment Manager of the Year. It was called Showman of the Year for the company, but it was
Okay.
Entertainment Manager of the Year for First Leisure Corporation. Yeah.
Ah, so you were pretty valuable to them.
I was, which is why they didn't want me to leave. I was the number one club in the country. Yeah, other than Stringfellows at the time, right? I lived the dream. I met and married a Canadian hockey player. When we first moved here, I applied to manage the Queens. And I remember when I called and asked to get an interview, that whoever it was at the time that owned the Queens, when I went on my spiel about the fact that I've just moved from England, I've just got my work visa, everything else, you're looking for a general manager, I feel that I'm qualified. The answer to that question was so.
What?
So you talk about where we're at today in terms of women being trailblazers and the judgment straight away that was labeled on me because I was not good enough to run the Queens. And then here's another fact.
And hang on, and you felt straight up that was because you're a woman. Regardless, you had this resume of having in all of England.
Absolutely. I went and applied for another position, which was general manager of Cyber City, which was on Bowen Road.
Okay.
And I managed Cyber City for their first year of operation. Right before my acting career back in Canada started to take off, I was working on getting my union credits back on track and getting my acting career back on track. But meantime, Andrea, I worked for a very famous pub in our neighborhood. I'm not going to use names because I admire there and I'm a regular there now, but back in the day, I was hired as a washer-up.
Okay.
Yeah, as a dishwasher, and they fired me after 6 weeks.
well, because you're a little overqualified for like what is. But you know what?
Yes, I can't wash up worth a damn. It actually makes me laugh, and I have to laugh all these years later because I do giggle with some of the staff at this venue because they can't believe it that I was fired all those years ago. But I wanted a simple life back then. I was just trying to get a little job to get me out of the house, just to keep me sane. I had, you know, young babies. And so I thought this would be ideal. Well, obviously not. It wasn't challenging enough for me. So that then I managed Cyber City. And then after I managed Cyber City, I had earned enough credits in film and television that I decided that I was going to start. My son was then coming up through the ranks as a young actor. He started working when he was 3. And so we were back and forward to Vancouver 2 or 3 times a week between him and me. By the time he was 12, he had done 25 commercials, 4 feature films, 2 TV series.
Wow.
And then by the time his career started to take off, that's when I was getting invited as an acting coach so Cameron Bright was one of my students at the time. So Cameron landed the role and we went to New York, worked in New York for 4 months, working with Nicole Kidman.
What was his role? Yeah, Nicole Kidman, I want to get to, but what was Cameron Bright's role in New York, or was it several different roles?
He played young Sean in the movie Birth, and Nicole Kidman was nominated for, I think it was a Golden Globe for that performance, but she'd won the Golden Globe the year before for The Hours. And I was watching the Golden Globes at the time when the phone call came through from the UK, because it was a British production company. And this is a funny story too. Yeah. So I'm watching the Golden Globes, and I guess must have been what prompted him to do it, because he's actually watching Nicole Kidman get the award. We all are. I follow the awards, like crazy.
Of course.
So he's watching the awards, and my phone goes, and it's a English voice on the end of the phone, and he says, "Hello, my name is Jonathan Glazer here, and I'm calling from London, England, and I'd like to speak to Jacqui Kaese." And I said, "Well, sorry, what? Who are you?" "It's Jonathan Glazer here. Yeah, I'm a director for Academy Films, and I'd like to speak to Jacqui Kaese." And went, "Well, this is me, but I don't know. Sorry, like,
Like you
Jonathan.
thought it was a prank call, maybe? Or
Oh, totally. Academy films, when I'm watching, you know, an award show, I'm thinking one of my students or one of my husband's hockey friends, you know, had too much Crime Royal or whatever, right? So on the third attempt, he said, "My name is Jonathan Glazer. I was the director of Sexy Beast, which is the movie with Ben Kingsley."
okay.
He said, we want your boy, Cameron Bright, I believe you coach him, to come to New York, and we would like you to come with him as his coach." Well, you can imagine, I almost fell off the couch because, and then he said, and I asked a few more questions, and then he said, "No, the lead is Nicole Kidman. Oh my goodness, this is the dream job."
Right. And you are such a good acting coach. I know because I had the pleasure of taking a few courses with you. Um, and it's just there's something about you. You have that warmth, you have that welcoming, and you have that no bullshit way of coaching.
That bullshit is purely being a Brit. I think most Brits are no BS, right? I just think we add humor into whatever it is we're trying. We so easily laugh at ourselves, and you know, British humor for me is the best in the world. And then on top of that, you've got the history of the going through these world wars and everything, and that tenacity and that
Determination.
British bulldog determination.
Yeah.
And sometimes people don't like that. I mean, I'm always described as being intimidating, and people say, "Oh no, it's a good thing." So now, being mostly Canadian, I'm like, "Oh no, I'm intimidating. I have to correct that." Like,
You know what? If people, and it's not just because you're a Brit, because the best in the world, especially as women, tend to have to be quite direct.
yes,
They tend to have to put on a strong face.
yes.
Going forward in the movie industry today, we've had two things happen that I really want to address. I want you to address. One is we've had the Me Too movement.
Yep.
And that has done a great deal for women. I'd love for you to talk about that. What does the film industry look like going forward after COVID? So women's rights and COVID.
Well, I was part of the Me Too campaign, again, being a trailblazer, because I had my own experiences of that back in the music industry.
Wow.
And unfortunately, you know, that does still exist. And I have a couple of, you know, horrendous stories, which I wouldn't share in this forum, but maybe when we get together, I will tell you.
Yeah.
I believe that we are on the cusp of change, but I do not believe that enough is being done. I still believe that I love the way that Hollywood women are fighting for equality and to be paid the same. But what I do love is people like Ben Cumberbatch. Yeah. So what I love about him is that he's refusing to work unless his co-star gets the same amount of money. And I believe that more men, instead of being greedy, more men should appreciate the roles that we do and where our position in life. You know, I cringe. I still cringe to this day. The men, even in my world, that their wives work full-time jobs, and then the men come home and sit on their butts and expect to be waited upon, and for the women to still take care of the kids, take care of the house, take care of the housekeeping and everything. So, you know, I challenge every man out there to take a step back and to look, you know, at what their partners are doing for them. At the end of the day, you've got to come from a place of peace and love, because I don't like what's happening in the world right now, and I wouldn't want to be a person that was, you know, encouraging even more bad behavior. Yes, women are angry, and yes, we've all had experiences, but in the words of Maya Angelou, it has happened to us centuries before. You know, and I think that's what the Black community is trying to say, is that, you know, it is a time of change, and we have to embrace that change and come about that change from a place of peace and love, and not adding to the violence and destruction. That's me on my little bit of a high horse there. I think
I'm in the same line as you. You know,
I think most artists are, and I think that's what I'm finding with this unity that comes from being with my students. You know, because I've coached over the last couple of weeks, actually over the last month, I've coached maybe 40 actors in monologues, and about 30 actors in pairs for scene work that we're working on and things that we're doing. So I'm putting my time in to keep actors occupied and active and working on their craft, because ultimately at the end of the day, we as artists find unity through our art, and art speaks volumes. You know, there's volumes behind the message that art produces.
I'm so glad you're getting to that point, because when we put things on the screen, we have a chance to influence millions.
Absolutely.
And to change society. Probably film, video games, all of the main forms of social media, that's what's going to make the change. So how can we do that in the film industry now?
Well, I think there's no choice. Again, for me, you know, the intimacy, the sexuality that is, you know, overtly out there with everything that's going on, that's going to have to change, because the intimacy between two people on the screen is going to have to stop, right?
Oh.
We can't have that. But ultimately, you know, we're going to be moving into a phase of feel good stuff. We're going to be, I believe, or I hope we're going to be moving into a phase where I speak about Hallmark, in the fact that, you know, I know that people will watch every single Hallmark movie that comes out at Christmas because it makes them feel good.
I want to go back to the intimacy part, because that was something I noticed on Netflix recently. Like, just maybe side note, I was watching a couple movies and I didn't make it through one of them for sure. It looked like pornography. Like 100%. And
for me, it's gotten too much, and I put it down to it just being my age. And I remember my mother and father saying, "Oh, you know, this younger generation and blah blah blah," and so I brushed that aside, just saying I'm just getting older. But the vast majority of people I talk to, you know, believe it's a welcome change, because I do think that, again, coupling with the Me Too campaign, you know, the more we focus on that subject matter, the more the degradation of women happens, and the more violence with women happens, and the more violence happens. And, you know, so I do believe that we can influence people in the art behind the films that we make. And sometimes I have to stop and wonder what the message is from the filmmaker, you know.
It's always been about making money, though, hasn't it? As soon as something catches on, they go, oh, this catches on, we're going to run with it. We're going to take it as far as we can go.
Absolutely, because it captures an audience. I mean, if you think of the Blair Witch Project, and that was an independent movie, and how that sort of took things by storm when that was released, you know, because it was to do with supernatural, being out in the woods, and, you know, it was made so simply, but it affected, you know, it affected our thought process because of the way that it was filmed. Every once in a while a movie comes along that is sort of revolutionary, and it sort of changes things in the way that it is filmed. And, you know, but going back to my point about the way that the film industry will change, is that on that note, I think that filmmakers are going to have to get more creative, because they're not going to have there. I mean, this, as Bonnie Henry says, this is the now, it's not forever. But if we can change some of the very essences of the problems that exist in the world, then it could be forever if we were to send out the right message, right? So we do have an opportunity in the industry. It is one of the reasons why I like working for Hallmark, as much as people like to put, you know, them down for what they do. But it's good, clean, honest, romantic storytelling, you know, and it always has, most of the time has a happy ending, and it's just feel good. So yeah, that's why I like working for them.
Hallmark, Chesapeake Shores has won a lot of awards now.
Yeah.
And it's filmed here in our hometown of Nanaimo. And tell me about your position, your involvement.
Well, it's filmed here in Nanaimo, but predominantly it's Qualicum Beach and Parksville, right? So those are the other locations that we use. My position is background casting director, which means that I employ all of the background actors. But in the last couple of seasons, I sort of got a promotion in the fact that I am local casting director. So local casting, which officially is casting associate, which means that I work with the casting directors in Vancouver and out of Los Angeles, so that we can cast local people. As a local casting director, I pretty much know every actor that's on the island that is capable of doing a day player role or a principal role.
Yeah.
So that's why casting directors come to me. And that's a lot of casting directors on the mainland will come to me and say, who do you know? We're looking for, can you find, can you help?
And they have to trust you though, too. I mean, they have to put a lot of faith in you. This is an award-winning show.
Absolutely.
Every single part counts.
Yeah, and we're going to be going into season 5 as soon as we get the go-ahead. So,
congratulations.
And then, of course, our lead on Chesapeake Shores happens to be the lead on Martha's Vineyard Murder Mysteries, which is filming in Victoria. Jesse Metcalf does both. So he obviously loves the island very much, which is why he keeps coming back. So I'm hoping to get rocking and rolling, you know, with movies of the week down there too. So, but just let me say, you know, I don't want to come across as I'm, you know, not grateful for every filmmaker and every genre of making that is out there. I'm just saying my personal preference and how, with the current situation, how filmmaking is going to have to change for now, because we're gonna see less background performers on set. They're going to limit us with numbers because of the 50 and under. You know, we're going to see more stuff produced whereby we use our own costumes, our own hair, our own makeup, you know, for background performers, because they can't run the risk of too much person-to-person contact. You know, we're going to wardrobe ourselves under the guidance of costuming and makeup, you know, because they're going to eliminate a lot of those touching of props, the touching of costumes, touching of everything, right? So it's not just the intimacy and the sexuality on a set, it's everything is going to be affected by what we need to do. So everyone's going to have to come with their medical grade regular masks. Everyone's going to have to come with sanitizers. You know, everyone's going to have to come fully prepared, even as extras. You know, I believe it's going to be our responsibility to add to our kits on set, you know, to take care of ourselves. So I think that will be a responsibility for the extra to add not only clothes, hair, and makeup, but personal protection equipment.
Besides working with Chesapeake Shores, which is coming up, throughout the year, as we can see in the background, you run Spotlight Academy. You have changed with the times with COVID, and you've been doing a lot of Zoom teaching.
Yes.
And coming this summer, you're going to be doing some kids camps and adult camps. And let's just go over some of that.
Thank you. So what we've done is we've created a mini circus. So a circus is where people report to when they go to a set. So we've come up with the idea that we're going to take the kids camps outside. Kids will bring tents. So we'll have, you know, a bigger tent in the middle, which will be the circus, and that will be the filmmakers, the director is. From there, they'll work from there. And then around the edge of my studio, the outside area where my home studio is, we're going to set up tents, and these tents will become pods. And the kids will sit in their pods. They'll be in their 1-man or their 2-man tent, 2 kids if they come from the same family. And so all of the action will play from these pods, and outside the pods will be a table with 2 chairs either side so that everybody can socially distance. So then the pods will set up all the way around the edge of the perimeter of the set, and then the middle of the set will become circus, and then the kids will come into set to film as they're needed, depending upon what story that they write. But, you know, there's no staying over, because Bonnie Henry has said, you know, her words are, everybody needs to think about day camps. So we've never stayed over. We just offer day camps. But we believe that in offering the outside environment, that we can create this really unique set experience. So instead of trailers, we have tents, right? So the kids bring their tents, and it'll be like an overnight experience, but it'll be during the day. They'll have their own little home base to work out of. So I think we've come up with something really unique.
That is really unique, and that's fantastic. And kids need to be outside and I mean, let's get them off the video games, which is mostly what they've been doing since they're not at school.
And Bonnie Henry has said, no, yes, let's explore. day camps. Day camps are good to go. So
yeah. And for those who don't know, who are going to watch this later, Bonnie Henry is our head medical doctor for the province we live in.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
So she's given the go ahead personally.
Yeah, she wants us to socialize, but she wants us to be safe. And if we're responsible, then we're going to keep that curve flat.
Absolutely. I do think that, you know, the city of Nanaimo, when they awarded me the Excellence in Culture Award, I think that they get, one of the reasons why they gave it to me is, again, because I'm a trailblazer. And if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it right.
Yeah, exactly. And I definitely would trust you for that. You are just such a fantastic lady. So we'll wrap this up.
So are you, Andrea.
Thank you. Oh, you know what? I know you're so busy, and I so appreciate you taking time for this. This is my new project. I'm learning how to interview.
Love it. Just love it. Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Bye-bye, sweetheart. Bye-bye. Bye, everybody. Bye.